Okay. We are now recording. So you guys can use the chat function or blurt it out. We're just going to kind of go through some of these and see what some of your answers were. Okay. All right. So what is microbiology, the study of?
Microorganisms.
Very good. I know some people tend to overthink things, such as what are the 4 things?
Bacteria, fungi, and protozoa, and viruses.
Yep. Bacteria, parasites, fungus, viruses. Absolutely. They're all different. So for example, influenza is a virus, right? COVID's a virus. An example of a parasite is that Trichomonas vaginalis that we see swimming around under the microscope. They're a little bit larger. They're multicellular organisms. Bacteria, okay, those are things like our staph infections, and yeast is like Candida, and mold that grows on your bread. They kind of go in the same classification. All right, where are microorganisms found? And this is kind of hard because it's like I can't see what you're commenting and my screen at the same time. Let me try this. I'm so used to using Microsoft Teams. I use that so much more frequently than this. Just want to see if I can see both at the same time by squishing my screen. Ooh, that works. Okay. Yep. Air, soil, and water, and also in the human body, right? So what are the ones that are normally found on our bodies that don't make us sick?
Normal
This is a
flora.
test question. Normal flora. Yep. Normal flora is in your mouth. It's on your hands, on your skin. This is why I'm not a giant proponent of excessive um, uh, my God, my brain, I'm not awake yet. Hand sanitizer use, right? You see these kids walking around with all little Bath and Body Works hand sanitizers hanging off their backpacks and stuff, and they're just constantly squirted on their hands. To me, that kills off your normal flora that keeps you healthy. Also dries out your skin and makes it crack, which can introduce pathogenic bacteria. I'm not saying there's not a place for it, because when I am doing phlebotomy and I'm going from patient to patient to patient, I am definitely using hand sanitizer over washing my hands constantly, because it's just a lot easier. But yeah, definitely can be, um, you know, not the greatest if you're overusing it. Normal flora are good for us. We know that. Certain antibiotics destroy good bacteria. Okay. And when that happens, we have antibiotic resistance, right? So if we destroy good bacteria and we don't kill all of the bad bacteria, we do have survival of the fittest, and all of the bad bacteria kind of take over and cause a lot of problems. There's things like an E. coli that's difficult to treat. We have antibiotic resistant gonorrhea over in the UK. So that, that can be a problem as well. So fewer than what percent of organisms are pathogenic? What percent?
1.
It's a little more than that.
Was it 10?
It's 10, yeah. And that's
Yeah.
like a rough number, right? So 1 out of 10 microorganisms floating around can actually make you sick. We can go that direction with it. And that's why I've always been like, people that are always so afraid to let their kids get dirty, let your kids play in the dirt. Let them go outside and dig in the dirt. Let them get dirt in their hands and their fingernails. Like all of that soil bacteria is actually really good for you, and it will help fight off infection in the future by exposing your kids to all that wonderful dirt. Um, I think it's 10%.
I think the book said 1% of all microorganisms and then 10% of bacteria.
I was gonna say, I think the book said it might have, I
Oh,
think it might have
yes.
said
Okay.
1%.
I'm going off bacteria. So bacteria is
Okay,
10%. All microorganisms would probably be 1%. Yeah.
okay.
I was going off bacteria. You're correct. And I think the test, because I've been teaching the same test for 6 years, I'm pretty sure it's 10%. And I think it is on there. Hold that thought and ask me at the end. I will verify. Somebody take a note. Yeah, so we get infections when our natural defense mechanism breaks down, and infections invade the body and become contagious. Okay. Classifications. Viruses are the smallest, right? And what do they consist of?
RNA and DNA molecules.
They do RNA and DNA molecules. Um, so you're not going to have to know the difference between what is what and who is who, but just know that they're very small. And what they do is they plop themselves on top of our normal cells and they inject our cells with their RNA and DNA and replicate using the materials inside of our cells. So, for example, when you get the flu goes up your nose, lands on a cell, it injects its genetic material into your cells, replicates itself inside the cell wall bursts open, and we got boatloads of baby viruses floating around. And it's hard because our body recognizes our cells as self, so our immune system doesn't destroy our cells in most cases. So therefore, there's all this cellular or the viral replication happening inside our cells, but our body doesn't know because it's inside the cell. So those viruses are really, really smart, super smart. They're so small that we can only see them under what type of microscope? It's
Electronic.
electron microscope, yeah. There was only there's a lot more of them nowadays, but when I was in college, which was probably 100 years ago, I remember we took a field trip to UW La Crosse, and they were the only UW school in the state, besides Madison. I think Madison had one too, but for some reason we went to La Crosse, and they had an electron microscope. It was half the size of our classroom, and it spanned up 2 stories in the building. Huge. Now they're probably the size of a refrigerator, but they're huge. So they scan down to an atomic level, and we can see atoms and things with those. Okay, they need a blank cell in which to live. A living cell. So they need some type of cell in which to live so they can multiply. So examples: influenza, smallpox, chickenpox, COVID. At the time this was made, COVID did not exist, and in the capacity we know it today. All right, so bacteria. They do reproduce by binary fission, so they just keep splitting themselves in half. They produce very rapidly on culture media, and they form what on top of that media? What were those things we were looking at and taking off and putting under the microscope after we stained them?
Colonies.
Colonies, yes. What is the reproduction of microorganisms in a laboratory culture medium?
Is it culture?
Yeah, we can put that. That's not a test question. This one was open for interpretation because it could be many things in my opinion. Um, so yeah, just growing them on a culture would work for that one. Anybody else have another answer for that one? This is always kind of a toughie. All right, so moving on to fungus. That was bacteria. Fungus are single-celled organisms. Ringworm is actually an example of a fungus. People think it's a worm. It's not, okay? It just forms rings on the skin with redness in the middle. So if you look that up online, you'll see it makes like these perfect rings, and they call it ringworm. How do yeast reproduce?
By budding.
Budding. Yep, they produce buds. I think I showed you guys a picture of blastomycosis and stuff. They look like little snowmen. If we see like yeast from Candida, which causes yeast infections, those bud as well. What about mold?
Is that going to be spores?
They do form spores, and then they grow into tube-like structures called mycelia, right? Is that what you guys found for that one? Or did you find another answer?
Yes.
The mold reproduced by forming. I have the mold
Yeah, so
reproduced by forming mycelia.
correct. So did you ever, this happens to us all the time. Like we buy a lot of bread and it just kind of gets tossed in the pantry, and then like a loaf will get pushed in the back or some hamburger buns, you pull them out and there's a green fuzz. Those are mycelia that are growing out of the mold. Okay, parasites. They can live in or on a host and derive what from the host? I would take many answers for this one.
Nourishment.
Yep, yep. They suck off of the host. Things like, have you ever seen a leech? Like a leech is like a parasite type, like a large parasite, right? That would put itself on top of a fish or a human, and it will derive all of the blood from the host. So that's just a huge example, right? But there's also things like roundworms, tapeworms, pinworms, flukes. Did we talk about tapeworms? Is that you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, where it's got these little teeth and it like grabs onto the inside of your intestines. They're voracious eaters of vitamin B12 and they grow and grow and grow and grow. That's an example of a type of a parasite. There's smaller parasites in protozoans that you could only see under the microscope. Pinworm, this you have to know, is Enterobius vermicularis. Does anybody have a good way to memorize that pinworm is Enterobius vermicularis? That's a hard one to say. That's the one that causes itchy bung. The kids scratch with their fingernails in between their butt crack and they go play with their toys and then somebody else picks up the toy and then puts their hands in their mouth. And that's how the whole life cycle begins of the pinworm at daycare. I don't know. That one, students struggle with that one. But Enterobius vermicularis is pinworm. Giardiasis is Giardia lamblia. So that one kind of looks similar to that Trichomonas vaginalis, but you get that one from drinking out of streams. Okay, so if you drank out of like some type of water out in the woods, very common in our area. Um, I'm surprised more dogs and stuff don't get this because my dogs are always drinking out of puddles and stuff. One that causes STDs are now called STIs is Trichomonas vaginalis. Head lice is Pediculus humanus. Crabs are Pterus pubis. Okay, so those are the ones you need to know for that category. Those you will see on the test. Okay. All right, let's look at the different shapes of bacteria here. Diplococci, cocci you know is round. So 2 of them is a diplo. You're not going to have to know that. Just know cocci is round. Strep grows in chains. That's important. Staph likes to grow in grape-like clusters. So strep chains, staph clusters, like grapes. Bacilli are kind of like rods. And then we've got spiral-shaped bacteria as well. All right, so we know coccus are round. I just mentioned it. They can be found in many different clusters or chains. These are the bacteria you have to be familiar with and what they do, okay? Staph, we call it staph epi, Staphylococcus epidermidis, found on the skin, mouth, it's everywhere, okay? Usually doesn't cause infections. The only place we see it cause infections is like, say somebody has like a hip replacement and that's normally a sterile area. And if for some reason enough staph epi gets inside and a person is slightly immunocompromised, it can cause infections in sterile areas in the body. Staph aureus we see with the boils, pimples, impetigo, wound infections, food poisoning. This one was, I don't think I mentioned with you guys. I will not eat potato salad in the summer. Do you ever go to like a picnic and people take like potato salad from Festi and they like leave it sit out and it starts getting like kind of warm and clear? Okay. So what happens if there's any Staph aureus, which is from people just dig it in there, right? Using spoon, setting it down, whatever. The spoon that they had their hand on is like sitting in the potato salad. And then it kind of starts growing the staph bacteria, which normally isn't too much of a problem. But then as it gets put back in the refrigerator, it releases a staph toxin. Okay. So, and this isn't just potato salad, guys. This is like all like leftovers. And I have like a 2-day leftover person. And then somebody's like, oh my God, I was up all night. I was throwing up. I had diarrhea and it lasts like less than 24 hours, right? You're just up, you're sick, you're puking, pooping, whatever. And then like 12 hours later, you're fine. That is staph toxin. Okay. How many, like you can probably think of somebody this has happened to, right? We're like, oh man, I had the flu last night. I was just thrown up. I don't know what it was. Must have ate something. And it just like goes away, right? That's staph toxin. Oh, can't eat potato salad in the summer. That's my side note. Strep pyogenes causes strep throat. Okay, those are chains. Strep pneumo causes pneumonia. That one makes sense. Neisseria meningitidis causes meningitis, and Neisseria gonorrhea causes gonorrhea. So those are all cocci. All right, bacillus are rod-shaped, right? Sometimes they're coccobacillus if they're kind of fat and chunky. E. coli is very common in UTIs, right? And then what does Corynebacterium diphtheriae cause?
Diphtheria.
Yeah, yep. We get a shot for that, right? The Tdap, diphtheria or tetanus, diphtheria, and pertussis shots that we get for healthcare. What does Mycobacterium tuberculosis cause?
Tuberculosis.
Yeah, or TB, we call it for short, right? There's a special stain for that called an acid fast stain we have to do. We can't see it with regular stain. So there's a special when we're looking for that. TB can take 42 days to grow. So when we have to grow it on a special media, if it's a suspected TB patient, and the thing that sucks about that is the patient's either better or dead by the time the culture's done. So they kind of have to go off of blood tests instead. Bacillus anthracis. What does that cause?
Anthrax.
Anthrax. For those of you that were alive long enough in the early 2000s, I think it was, there was a bioterrorism event where they were sending anthrax powder through the mail in envelopes. And it became a problem with the mail sorting because if you've ever seen a mail sorting machine, it like shoots envelopes through really fast. And as this powder was inside these envelopes, it would like shoot out of the envelopes. And the people that were running the mail machine, some of them even died because they were breathing in the anthrax powder. So anthrax can sit for millions of years when they sporulate and they sit as like a powder. And once they hit your nice warm lungs, um, it comes back and it can kill you because there's so much of it when you breathe that in. I think somebody even threw a bunch of anthrax powder off of a building, try to get a bunch of people down in like New York City or something to breathe it in. There was something, or it was like a threat, or they thought it was, but it wasn't. So that kind of thing. It can be used in bioterrorism because it's great at sitting as a powder. Spirilium are spiral-shaped bacteria. Okay, so these ones here you have to know. What does Treponema pallidum cause? Makes you dumb.
Syphilis.
The syph. Yeah, syphilis. Yep. Treponema pallidum makes you dumb because there's primary syphilis on your chancre, on your cranker, secondaries on your hands, tertiary is in your brain. Makes you crazy, makes you dumb. So Treponema pallidum. This one shouldn't be here. I didn't make this. I should change this. Vibrio cholera is not a spirilium, but what does that cause?
Cholera.
Cholera.
It causes cholera. It's diarrhea forever, right? Like if Mrs. Doubtfire. It's from seafood, shellfish, and stuff like that. Borrelia burgdorferi causes
Limes.
Lyme's disease. Yep, and that one's transmitted through tick bites. Very, very common in the Wisconsin. And H. pylori, what does that cause?
I had ulcers for that one, but I don't think that's right.
It is right. That is right.
Oh,
Let me
it
tell
is.
you a story
Oh,
about
cool.
Mr. Barry Marshall. So back in the mid 80s, Dr. Barry Marshall was trying to prove to the world that there was a bacteria that could live in your stomach. And your stomach pH is about 1 or 2, right? Which is super low. That's like up there with like more acidic than vinegar and a lot of the acids that we use. So everybody's like, Barry, you're absolutely out of your mind. There's no way that bacteria can live in a stomach acid. And he's like, oh, no, you're wrong. There's definitely bacteria in your stomach and it's causing ulcers. So he drank a whole beaker full of H. pylori, gave himself the worst case of ulcers ever, took a whole handful of penicillin, treated himself, and got a Nobel Peace Prize. True story. Coolest story. I love that story. So yeah, talk about taking one for the team for medicine, right? But yeah, H. pylori causes ulcers and it's super treatable. They used to test blood for it. It's not very accurate. I have some H. pylori test kits in the lab, and we use it for my immunology class. But now they test poop more than they draw blood. Okay, bacteria that produce spores. Again, the bioterrorist thing. We talked about the anthrax above. Um, Clostridium tetani can cause tetanus or lockjaw. Botulinum toxin, we talked about that one going in the canned food. If you see a busted can of something, it's like bursting at the seams. Bacillus anthracis was the anthrax. All right, here's some other ones. Rickettsia, what are those?
Rocky Mountains spotted fever.
Right, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, yep. Um, it's transmitted by a tick bite. I had a friend whose dad had Lyme's disease and Rocky Mountain spotted fever at one time. He was in Theta Care. Like I think he went hunting out in Colorado or somewhere weird, like hunting for some weird animal. I don't know. and he ended up getting both. And he was in theta carotina for like a month. All right, so how do we transport these things? They have to go in a special type of media or it will die, okay? We saw that the throat cultures you guys collected, remember there was that little sponge in the bottom? There's a little bit of media in there that just keeps those bacteria alive and healthy. Especially if we're going to go culture them in the lab, we got to keep them alive from point A to point B, okay? If it's a virus, there's usually a viral culture material that keeps the viruses happy and alive. It's different than a bacterial culture media. So just know that usually there's some swabs with some type of transport media, whether it be the little sponge or liquid or whatever. There's something there that that microorganism likes to stay alive, and it does matter. So your biggest job working in a clinic as an MA is making sure that when the doctor collects a herpes sample, when they collect a throat swab, when they do a wound culture, that the doctor has provided the correct swab for the job. And you don't have to memorize that, but you do have to know where the binder is or where the online information is for that laboratory it's being sent to make sure that you're putting it in the right media. Like it'll say, oh, we're collecting a knee wound or whatever. You would look that up and it would tell you what media to use. Don't just guess because the lab will reject it. Also, make sure it's not expired. I worked at Prevail last night and I got a call from St. Vincent's Hospital. They rejected 4 herpes cultures on patients from OB because the media was expired. So we had to call, came from St. Mary's OB actually, and let them know that they collected all these herpes on expired media. They have to call those patients back. Oh boy. So anyways, let's transport systems in my story. Okay, smear preparation. We did this, right? We took our colony after it grew. We added a little water, put it on a slide. We heat fixed it on a warming plate. And then we gram stained it, gram positive or gram negative. Sometimes you can use a flame. We don't use a flame. They don't use any type of flames anymore in the laboratory, but in the olden days they did. All right, so gram stain, know the order. You're going to have a question that says, what is the order of the gram stain? And you have to pick A, B, C, or D, and they're all going to be out of order. So that will definitely be one question. Crystal violet, iodine, decolorize, or saffron. Okay, don't worry about the minutes and how long necessarily. Know that crystal violet stains the gram positives and saffron stains the gram negatives. Okay. So gram positive bacteria are purple and gram negative bacteria are red or pink. Okay. All right, now we got some of the more common ones here. Staph aureus causes what type of infection?
I have wounds.
Yep, wounds, skin, boils, I'll take any of that, right? It can cause like a staph and a MRSA infection. They're gram positive, right? And what do they grow in?
Clusters.
They do. Yep. They don't grow in clusters, but they stain gram positive cocci in clusters. Yeah. So yeah, I have a little work to do on this. The first time I've really like looked at this in close detail like this. So this is, I'm finding all kinds of wonderful things. All right, strep pyogenes causes what?
Strep throat.
Right, they're gram positive cocci that grow in
Chains.
chains. Yes. Yep. What does strep pneumo cause? This was up earlier in your study guide.
Ammonia.
Yep, they're gram positive.
Cocci.
Yep, that grows in
Pears.
Pears.
chains. You put chains for that one. I usually see that in chains. He is a really good chain grower. He's a better chain grower than strep pyogenes. And my aunt, my mom's sister, actually died of this, strep pneumoniae. So she went to the doctor. She had a really bad headache. She wasn't feeling well, and she had a fever. Well, my aunt was one of those people that went to the doctor with everything, every cough, sniffle, sneeze, everything. She always had my cousins at the doctor too. Like they went to the doctor more than anybody I've ever met in my life. She goes in and does not feel well. The doctor tells her she's got the flu. It was in May, which is crazy to me. You've got the flu, go home, take some ibuprofen. She did, and she went to bed. My cousin tried to wake her up. I think that was like later in the day. Tried to wake her up the next morning. She was totally incoherent. They had to call the ambulance. She ended up being life flighted to, this was in Appleton where they lived, to Theta Care in Nina, where she had multiple strokes and died. When they cultured her spinal fluid, she had strep pneumoniae. So had they done a CBC or taken her more seriously and done further testing, they could have treated this had they found it soon enough. But that 24 hours made the difference between life and death. So yeah, that's my strep pneumo story.
Is that the
But
one? Is that the pneumonia they would treat with levofloxacin?
oh, I don't know what they treat it with really.
Because I
Huh.
had some sort of bacterial pneumonia that I was out for 2 weeks, like on the couch,
Yeah, it
laying,
could be.
not
There's a
able to
number of
move.
things. There's a lot of things that can cause pneumonia, not just this one. Um, but this one's deadly. And here's the thing, if we cultured all of our skin, we would find this. Like it's everywhere. So it's just if here's what usually happens. You get a viral infection, COVID, the flu, whatever, that knocks your immune system down. Then all of a sudden in comes strep pneumo, right? And then it turns into pneumonia, which is an infection down deep in your lungs. So that first infection knocked down the immune system, the second infection comes in and takes over, where normally we're healthy enough to fight off this strep pneumo. Okay, Clostridium tetani causes, we had this already?
Tetanus,
Yep, they're gram-positive what?
spore forming bacilli.
Yep, there's a vaccine for this, right? So it's given in childhood, like every 10
D
years.
DBT every 10 years.
Yeah. My daughter, she works at, just got hired at New Water full time in town here, the sewage treatment plant. And we just had this conversation this morning. She hates needles. I don't know where she gets it from, but she hates them, hates them, hates them. I'd like to hold her down when she gets her blood drawn. It's like she's bawling, right? She's 20. Like, come on, I'm gonna grow up here. And she's like, I think I need a tetanus shot in 2024. Do you think they're gonna make me get that today? I'm like, I don't know, big girl, you got this. She's like, oh, mom. But yeah, every 10 years. So her last one would have been when my husband had to hold her down when she was 10 years old. Okay, Critibacterium diphtheriae causes what?
Diphtheria.
Right. They're gram-positive.
Just club shaped.
Oh, yeah, they are kind of club-shaped. And they are like a
Wait,
bacteria.
oh
Yep.
wait, never mind. Sorry. I thought we were going over the gram-negative bacteria. Sorry, ignore me.
No, now we are. What does gonorrhea cause? A sexually transmitted infection. They're gram-negative cocci. Yeah, they grow in like pairs or diplococci, like two little ones. E. coli, Proteus, and Klebsiella are gram-negative.
Bacilli.
Yep, rods or bacilli that can cause those ones cause UTIs. Proteus is really awesome. He's got flagella and he swims like crazy. It's a bacteria that just they move all over the place. And when we grow it on the plate, it swarms all over the plate. So the whole plate is just covered. It's like one giant colony because it just grows all over the plate. Legionella pneumophilia causes Legionnaire's disease. Pneumo means lung, right? Did you guys read about that story? That one's interesting. Sometimes students will pick that one. So the American Legion back in the 50s had this big air conditioning system, and somehow this bacteria got inside the air conditioning, and all of the people at this the Legionnaires convention, got pneumonia because of this coming out of that. I always hold my breath when I go to, and I'm going to give you guys like, I don't know, PTSD with all of this, but when you go to festival and then all of a sudden this like not steam, but the sprinklers or the psh comes on over the vegetables and fruits, I always hold my breath. I'm sure they have some like chlorine or something in there to kill it, but I always think of Legionella when I walk past and I hear see it all like, misting, that's the word, over all the fruits and vegetables. I'm like, I'm not breathing there because I don't want to get Legionella. We had a
Wasn't that like,
hotel in Great. Go ahead.
sorry, wasn't that like kind of standing water though? Just standing water in the air conditioning system?
Probably. Either way, it blew onto the people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we just had a hotel, not just, I shouldn't say just, in the last 20 years in Green Bay, the pool area, their air filtration system had Legionella and people got Legionella from it. So that's my Legionella story. All right, Bordetella pertussis causes
Whooping cough.
whooping cough. Yeah, it makes a whoop like because they can't catch their breath. It's very sad. And they're gram negative bacilli. Yersinia pestis causes
Plague.
the plague, black plague. Yep. Those are gram positive. They're transmitted by what?
A flea bite from a rodent.
Yeah. So the rodent usually gets flea bites, right? And then you can get bit by the rodent. Okay. There's vaccinations, DPT, diphtheria, pertussis, and tetanus, right? Collecting a throat specimen is a very common procedure, right? We do this all the time. I had a bunch of them yesterday. It can be tested for several different microorganisms, but it's usually tested for what is the organism that causes strep throat?
Oh. That's a
It's a strep, but what is the second word?
Pyogenes.
Pyogenes. Yep. What did you guys put in there? Just for fun, what did you guys put in that spot?
Just the streptococcal, to be completely honest.
Okay, that's fine. Just know strep pyogenes is the one that causes strep throat. Strep agalactiae causes like meningitis in babies. We don't go into that kind of detail, but there is more types of strep that cause problems and can cause problems. So a lot of women are tested for group B strep when they're pregnant because it can cause meningitis in the baby. I was tested positive for group B strep for some reason when I had Emma. And even, some people have it, some don't. It's not like a sexually transmitted infection or anything like that. So what they do when I was in labor, then they gave me an IV of antibiotics to make sure my baby didn't get it. All right. What is auger derived from?
Seaweed.
It is seaweed.
I did not know that. That's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, that's from seaweed. I don't know who discovered that, but yes, it is. It's seaweed. But then we add other stuff to it, like the sheep's blood. We add to that seaweed auger, and that allows us to see the different types of hemolysis. Other ones have salt for the Vibrio cholera because that's the seafood shellfish one. Some have inhibitory antibiotics to kill gram negatives, so only gram positives grow. Some have gram negative or gram positive bacteria, so only gram negatives grow. So there's all different types that you guys don't need to know unless you go and become a microbiologist. Sensitivity plates. Oh, this is going to be a question as well. So when a blood culture plate is streaked for isolation, there's a disc that can be put on it, okay? If bacteria grow right up to the disc, what are they?
Resistant.
Resistant. Yes, they don't care. They go right through it. If there's a clear area, susceptible. Yep, they're susceptible. So the clear area means that they were killed by the antibiotic. So that susceptible is clear. All right, strep. We just kind of covered this. Gram-positive cocci that grow in chains or clusters. They can produce like a hemolytic area on the culture plate that we hold it up, we can see through it. So it hemolyzes the sheep's blood cells or red blood cells when grown on a sheep blood plate. Beta hemolysis is kind of like a clear area. This would just be beta hemolysis. Did you guys put something different right here?
I just wrote complete.
Yeah, you can see through it. It's very typical of strep pyogenes that causes strep throat. So Rebecca Lansfield, you thought that there's like a couple types of strep. There's actually strep species A through O, and there may actually be more than that now. And it's according to their antigenic properties. I don't know what you guys put there. Did you put antigenic? That was probably hard to find.
I put antigenic.
Okay, good.
I
Yeah,
think that's what it's. I think that's
okay,
what it
good.
said in the book.
That's not going to be on the test, but there's well, you know, there's a lot more than just group A and or type A and type B. Group A, group B. All right, so strep pyogenes is group A, beta hemolytic, right? Very contagious. It's through droplets from coughing or some type of secretion, essentially, would be fine there. What'd you put for symptoms of strep throat?
Very sore throat.
Yep.
White patches on tonsils.
Yep, that's a good one.
Swollen glands.
Yep. What about temperature? High fever, usually. Yep, those are all good. I'm not going to ask you what are the 5 symptoms of strep throat on the test. Just know that it causes a very sore throat, fever, and the white patches are what you want to look for. Okay, complications. What is a contagious disease where you have sore throat, fever, enlarged lymph nodes in the neck, flushing of the face, strawberry tongue, and a bright red rash?
Scarlet fever.
Scarlet fever is correct. What is the next one? That can affect the brain, heart, joints, skin, or subcutaneous tissue. It can happen in children if strep throat is not treated right away. I told a story about my friend's son who had this. There's an R.
Acute
Rheumatic fever.
Rheumatic fever. Yep. This next one's really hard to say. Inflammation of the glomerulus in the kidneys from having a strep infection. Anybody brave enough to say it?
Glomerulonephritis.
Very good. Glomerulonephritis. Yep. So there's a lot of things if strep is not treated that can happen. Okay. And I even had a student walk up to me, it was probably a year ago, last fall, I would say. Her brother died of rheumatic fever from untreated strep. Okay, so it's very serious. We're getting close to the end here. So wet mounts are used to view microorganisms in their living, let's just say in their living state, right? So we just add some saline usually, and we look under them at a microscope, look at them under a microscope. Pear-shaped protozoa are called
Trichomonas.
Say that again.
Trichomonas. Vagin.
Yeah, that one can be Trichomonas vaginalis, but there's a lot more things that we can look for as well. Men are usually asymptomatic and serve as what?
Carriers.
Carriers. Yeah, they just like to transmit it around all over the place. It's hard to find in a man now. Like they die in urine really fast, so collecting a urine specimen on a man usually isn't ideal. But there is a swab test that we can do when they send it out to test for it. But usually, if a female has it, they'll treat the male. KOH is used, breaks down the protein material in the specimen, I guess, so we can see the yeast. So if there's a ton of cells, so cellular material, it will get rid of everything else, but the yeast will stay. So that's kind of nice because sometimes when they do like a swab of the skin or vaginal swab, we see tons of skin cells. It will get rid of those and just leave the yeast so we can see it really well. So that's what KOH does for yeast. Pinworm, that's the Enterobius formicularis, right? Tiny roundworm known as, what'd you guys find for that one?
It's a pinworm.
Yep. The female lays the eggs during the night in the what area? Itchy bung. The rectal anal area. So this causes, I would say, intense itching, and the host scratches the area infecting.
Hands and fingernails.
Yep. They go in there and they scratch, right? So the cellulose tape test, which they used to put cellulose tape over the anal area and then place it on a glass slide, but now we've got a really fancy pinworm paddle that we use. Influenza, known as the flu, is caused by a virus that affects the respiratory tract, right? Just trying to move through this, make sure we have time for our game. It can develop complications such as pneumonia, right? There is type A and type B, and there's also a type C. We don't test for type C, but usually type A is more in the fall, winter, and then later on the B kind of comes around. We haven't seen any positive flus yet. Influenza swine flu, I had this. H1N1 was what year?
2009.
The only
I had
time
it.
I have ever called in sick in my life. Like
I
literally,
had
I've
it
never.
too.
Yep, I've never called in sick. I had to call in sick that time. I had to find somebody to take over my class. But I have never in my entire life called in sick. I will go to work half dead. I lied. Now, since then, I did get COVID in August of 22, and I probably would have gone to work, but I did test positive for it, so they wouldn't let me. But otherwise, yeah, I'm like one of those crazy people. MRSA caused methicillin-resistant Staph aureus, caused more deaths than antibiotic-induced diarrhea in what year?
2005.
2005 sounds good. I'm not going to test you on that, but I was like, oh, I don't have that memorized either. SARS is a severe acute respiratory syndrome caused by coronavirus. A total of 8,096 people became sick in what time span? This was so far before COVID.
2002 to 2003.
Yeah, so that's like an old one, but then if you bring in 2020, it's a whole other story, right?
See,
Ebola. Oh, so go ahead.
no, I thought it was talking about like when I read this initially, because like thinking about like coronavirus, I'm like you just heard like SARS when it first started, so I was like,
Uh-huh.
it only said a total of 8,096 people, and I was like, this was a worldwide epidemic. I was like, hold on, wait a minute.
Yeah. So prior to the current COVID pandemic that we had, there was a small situation where a bunch of people on an airplane got it, and it was known as SARS. But then it came back like, how many years later? Like 20 years later, as we had COVID. That's why it's called SARS-CoV-2. That was SARS-CoV-1, I believe. Ebola, what year?
1976.
Oh, good year. Good year. I was born that year. I didn't know that came out in 1976. That's a bad one. What's that?
That's what it said in the book.
Yeah. The survival rate of this is very low. If we had a global outbreak of this, it would be catastrophic. So they try to keep that one under wraps. Biological toxin used in bioterrorism. Botulism is a gram-positive spore-forming bacteria, I should say, named Clostridium botulinum. It produces spores. Did you have something different for those two? Gram-positive spore-forming produces spores. That's what I would put. The most poisonous natural substance known, causes dry mouth at a progressive. It leads to what failure?
So heart failure.
Yeah. And I would say nerve damage maybe in this other one. I don't know. What did you guys put for the second one?
Death.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. Yep, especially babies, right? Because it's found in what food?
Canned food. Baby food.
Honey.
Oh yeah.
I'm just looking here. It looks like Christian never made it, huh? Did he ever comment on the...
No, he doesn't really get the messages. So
Well, I see his little circle. The last thing he ever saw was about the video back in November 5th.
it's only on his computer.
Oh, he doesn't have it on his phone.
Computer's no good.
No.
Okay. Let me go back to my thing here. Okay, we're getting there. So bacteria and bioterrorism, holy cow. The plague, Black Death, is caused by what?
Yersinia pestis.
Yep, that's a rodent one. Anthrax, Bacillus anthracis, very old. Causes what plague in the Bible?
Is it the 5th?
Yeah, they can live for 40 years just sitting. I said hundreds of years, but it says 40 here. Viruses that are used in bioterrorism, smallpox can be one. They do give military people sometimes smallpox vaccinations just in case it's being used. In 1980, it was considered eradicated due to like widespread vaccination, but it is stored in certain laboratories around the world, like the CDC and stuff like that. But there's some other countries that have gotten their hands on it somehow, and it can cause severe issues. So, what are some of the things we get from smallpox?
We get fevers. We've had fevers.
Yeah, and it caused like skin ulcers, kind of like all the other pox that are out there, right? Chicken pox, smallpox, monkeypox. Whatever happened to monkeypox? Remember that was a big scary thing for a little while. Ebola virus, hemorrhagic, excessive bleeding and destruction of internal organs. It's the most lethal disease known to man. There's movies out there on that one. Okay, so done with that. There's a lot of good stuff on there. The game that we are going to play is Jeopardy. And let me share here. See if you guys can see what I see. Nope. Nope. I don't think that's it either. Oh, man. Let's try this again. Sorry. My love of... Oh my goodness. Now you see a tunnel. All right, Becky, let's be smarter than the... Move this to a new tab. No, move to a new window. Let's do that. I just got to be smarter than the collaborate, right? Window. There we go. I'll wait for this to pop up here. That's better. Okay, I'm going to try and make this a little bigger so hopefully you can see. I'll slide it over so I can see your comments. Okay, so we have, let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. To make it easier for me to keep track, we're going to go, so write down who your teammate is. Cassidy and Cecilia are team 1. Sitlali and Courtney are team 2. It looks like Courtney made it in. Courtney, your signal looks strong. Sitlali looks like she's on the phone.
Yeah, I was able to get on my phone, Becky.
Oh,
Log
okay.
in.
Sweet. Okay, then we got Jenny and Madeline. I'm just going in alphabetical order. And then Mary and Ramsey. So team 1 is Cassidy and Cecilia. Team 2 is Sitlali and Courtney. Team 3 is Jenny and Madeline. And then team 4 is Mary and Ramsey. Okay. All right. So we're going to do the usual. You're going to pick a category and your number. You can, how you're going to discuss it with your team member. I guess you're going to discuss it out loud if you want to. Or if one of you knows it, you can just say it. Okay. If you don't know, I'm going to give you like, I don't know, 30 seconds to a minute. If you don't know it, just say, I don't know, and I'll just give the answer. Okay. All right, so let's start with Cassidy and Cecilia. What category do you want?
Let's just do the first 10.
Don't touch my genus.
Yeah,
Okay, name a virus that may be used in bioterrorism.
that's the
There's a number of. No, I can't tell you not to use your notes because you guys are at home and I can't see what you're doing. Everyone's gonna be looking. Okay, gotta pick one.
Smallpox. I don't know.
Smallpox, correct. Oh, Ebola and smallpox, they're both viruses. I will take either one.
Okay.
Ebola is probably the best answer, but smallpox is not wrong.
Okay.
I'll give you that. Okay, so Lolly and Courtney. Pick one, pick one.
I'll do the what am I for 10?
Yeah, I think so, Lolly. She's like, it looks like there's a little phone next to her icon, and she's got very low Wi-Fi. So I have a feeling she's probably having a hard time, like, trying to communicate. What kind of organism buds?
Is it yeast?
It is yeast. Yep, we use the KOH to see that. Okay, team 3, Jenny and Madeline.
What do you want to do, Jenny? You need to do I love micro for 20?
Yeah, we can do that one.
Okay.
This one?
Yeah.
Amoebas, roundworms, tapeworms, pinworms, and flukes are all examples of?
Parasites and protozoa.
That is correct, parasites. Okay, team 4, Mary and Ramsey.
I really don't care. We can do I can't do it. Maybe.
We could do micro 20.
What is normal flora?
Normal. This is hard
The
to collaborate
normal bacteria
normal.
that keeps you healthy.
On the skin.
It is hard when you're online, but I figure we'll survive, right? Bacteria normally found in the human body, it's correct. Okay, let's say I could have made us drive to campus for this, but I thought everybody would enjoy staying home in their jammies. All right, we're back to Cassie and Cecilia.
Let's do don't touch mine for 20.
What is the genus name of a gram-negative diplococci that causes gonorrhea?
The natural. I don't know how to say it, but the gonorrhea.
The first word. Try to say it one more time.
It starts with an E.
I know it does.
I don't know how to say it. Nasseria?
Okay, I'll take that. Neisseria. Neisseria. Okay, team 2, so Lolly and Courtney.
Well, the what am I for 20?
Brown bacteria are called blank and rod-shaped are called blank. Oh no, what happened to my computer? Uh-oh. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear
Yes.
you, Becky.
Oh wow, it just went like, my screen went black and then came back. Oh man, I really hope it's still recording. Yeah, it is.
It says you're still sharing the content. There's a little recorder button next to your icon.
Yeah, I just double checked. This happened to me. I did a 3-hour review for clinical chemistry and it quit after an hour and I had no idea. They were so sad. Okay, what are round called and what are rod called?
Is it cocci and bacilli?
That is correct. Let me find my screen again. Oh, I lost it. Okay, so that was team 2. Okay, team 3. Jenny and Madeline.
I don't see the
Sorry.
topics anymore. Okay. What do you want, Jenny?
We can do more micro 20.
What is a gram-positive cocci that can cause rheumatic fever, which affects the joints, heart and brain, scarlet fever, and glomerulonephritis?
That is the Streptococcus pyogenes.
Yep. Streptococcus pyogenes. Less than 1% of bacteria actually make you sick, so it is 1%, Jenny. Where am I getting 10% from? That must be a microbiology question. Oh, glad you guys are on top of it. Less than 1% actually make you sick. Be sure to swab the back of the throat, the sides, like the tonsils. Okay, don't hit the uvula. Okay, that was team 3. Team 4, we have Mary and Ramsey.
We could do micro 40.
Big spender. Mycobacterium tuberculosis causes.
Tuberculosis.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, team 1, Cassidy and Cecilia.
Don't touch this. 30.
Okay, what does Treponema pallidum cause?
Syphilis.
Correct. Primary, secondary, tertiary makes you dumb.
Ruby. Shh.
Okay, team 2, so Lally and Courtney. So Lally, your microphone is on if you want to try talking. It says it's on anyways. But it also shows you're on your phone. Oh, now your Wi-Fi band just went down. It's kind of cool that you can see that. All right, Courtney, it's on you.
How about the I love micro for 30?
All right, gelatin-like substance derived from seaweed that is poured into a petri dish to make culture plates for isolating bacteria.
Is it the agar plate?
That is correct. Yep. And blood agar contains sheep's blood, and bacteria colonies are what grow in the agar. Sometimes I add that extra information in the answer. It's there for a reason, just so you guys are aware. All right, Jenny and Madeline.
Jenny, are you good with I love micro for 40?
Sure.
Okay.
Antimicrobial agents or round antibiotic discs are placed on top of an inoculated agar plate and incubated. After 24 hours, there's no bacterial growth around the disc, which means there's a big clear area. The bacteria are considered blank to that particular antibiotic.
Resistant.
I'm gonna.
Oh,
I think it's the other one.
yes. What's it?
Sensitive,
Sensitive.
susceptible.
Yeah.
Yeah, sensitive or susceptible. Yep. If it's resistant, people get confused with that word resistant because they think if it's resisting it, it stays away. But if it's resistant, it doesn't care. It just goes and grows right up to it. If it's sensitive, it stays away. So I think if you memorize the sensitive one or susceptible, it's easier. And then just the other one is resistant. So if you're sensitive to something, you stay away from it. If you're sensitive from a certain lotion, you don't put it on your skin, you stay away, right? If you're sensitive to somebody's perfume, you stay away. So just remember that one and then don't focus on the resistant side because then you'll know the opposite would be resistant. Okay. Oh, there we go. All right, Mary and Ramsey.
Like this one.
Can we do the what am I for 30?
Name pathogens that cause severe intestinal diarrhea. Like 2 is fine.
Vibrio cholera.
Okay.
And oh my god, what is the other one? We were just talking about it.
There's one that swims in the streams. You drink it.
The freaking oh my god, the bits of the giardias. I'm gonna nix that so hard.
Correct. Yep. Giardia, Salmonella, E. coli, those all cause diarrhea. Okay. All right, back to the top. Cassidy and Cecilia.
Micro for 30.
Okay, describe ways to transport infectious specimens.
They put it in a plate thing with what? I put in a transfer tube with the transport media. I don't know.
Yep. And then can you put it in your pocket or should you put it in something else?
You put it in a transport bag.
Yeah. Yep. So it contains a sterile swab or 2, and it contains transport media. It helps keep microorganisms alive during transport, and it should be put in a biohazard bag too. That's just a side note. Like, don't just go walking down with it in your pocket. Okay, team 2. We have Solali and Courtney, which is Courtney flying solo, but she's doing great.
How about the what am I for 50?
Ooh. Okay. What organism causes pinworm?
I want to say it's anaerobus.
Yep. What's the second word?
Verma. I don't know how to say the other one.
Enterobius, and there should be a bias on the end. It says enterobus here, but Enterobius formicularis. This uses the cellulose tape test, or that little sticky paddle, pinworm paddle, we call them. That was team 2. Okay. Team 3 is Jenny and Madeline.
Jenny, your pick.
Micro 50.
Why am I yawning? Gram-negative bacteria appear what color and positive are what color?
The gram-negative is red-pink and gram-positive is purple.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is team 3. Yes. Positive is purple. Negative is pink. All right. Team 4, Mary and Ramsey.
You can go,
We
Mary.
could do more micro 40.
What is the smallest microorganism that consists of RNA and DNA molecules and can only be seen under an electron microscope?
Viruses.
That is correct. Examples are influenza, smallpox, and chickenpox. Okay, back up to team 1, Cassidy and Cecilia.
Let's do don't touch for 40.
Okay, Serous pubis causes what?
Um, 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 um. Can you hear me? Crabs?
Crabs. I couldn't hear you, but now I can.
Okay.
Yes, crabs. Team 2, Courtney.
How about the what am I for 40?
Gram-negative rod-shaped bacteria that can cause urinary tract infections.
E. coli.
That is correct. Okay. And just as an aside note, Bordetella pertussis is a gram-negative bacteria that causes whooping cough. You're doing very well by yourself here, Courtney, since Lolly probably is struggling to help out here. Okay. Team 3, Jenny and Madeline.
Do you want to do I love micro for 50?
Yeah, we can do that one.
Okay.
The rapid strep A test that was performed in class is considered positive if how many lines appear?
Oh.
Um,
2. Is it 2?
It's 2. Yes, there's a control line and a test line. If they're both positive, that means the test is positive. All right, team 4, Mary and Ramsey.
I have a question really quick.
Yep.
What was the test where the one line was considered positive?
Drug screen. But don't
The
worry
drug
about that.
screen? Okay.
Ignore that from your brain. Don't even put that in your brain right now. That'll be on the next test.
Okay, I was gonna say because I was like, wait, that's one. And then I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, the
Okay. Sorry,
only
side note.
test in this, pretty much the only test in this world, and I want to say the only, but in your world, the only test that would have one line positive is a drug screens.
Okay.
But get that out of your brain for now because that's not till the next test. We'll review
Okay.
that next week.
Okay.
Yeah, get that out of your brain. Just focus on
Okay.
strep. Okay.
Okay.
Because that's what you need to know for this test.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Who are we on? Are we on Mary and Ramsey, right?
Mm.
Okay.
Mary, do you want to do more micro for 30?
Yeah, we can do that one.
Okay.
Okay. What does Staph aureus look like on a gram stain?
It's clusters, so it's like everywhere.
Yep, it's clusters, but what is the gram stain result? And what is the shape?
Is it gram positive?
Yep. Gram positive what in clusters?
The staphylococci?
Cocci. So they're gram positive cocci in clusters. Another example is Staph epidermidis. That's also gram positive cocci in clusters, but that's normal flora. That was team 4, right? Mary and Ramsey? Yep. Okay. All right, team 1. Cassidy and Cecilia.
Let's do don't touch for 50.
Okay, gram-positive bacteria that produces spores and toxin and is most likely agent to be used in a biological attack.
Is it anthrax and the plague?
Bacillus anthracis. Yep, that one's more likely than the plague. Why didn't that go? There we go. All right, team 2, Courtney.
How about the micro one for 50?
What bacteria produces a neurotoxin? It's the most poisonous substance known and eventually leads to respiratory failure and death.
Is it is it Clostridium botula?
Clostridium botulinum, yep.
Okay.
Okay, team 3, Jenny and Madeline.
Jenny, you pick.
They're pretty much all the same.
I love micro 10.
Yay, I do too. Okay, how do you get a rickettsia infection?
So that's a tick bite.
Yep, tick bite. An example is Rocky Mountain spotted fever. So that one is caused from Rickettsia rickettsii. Borrelia burgdorferi causes Lyme's disease and is also tick transmitted. Very important information. Okay. Team 4, Mary and Ramsey.
We could do micro 10.
All right, Blake occurs when the natural defense mechanisms are overtaken by microorganisms that invade the body.
I think I'm overthinking this question.
I know I want to say infections, but
I also do as well. But I feel like it's, oh, okay.
It is infections. I'm like, okay, stop. Don't overthink.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. We are back to Team 1, Cassidy and Cecilia. You're getting more micro. All right. Dr. Rebecca Lansfield identified groups of what species from A to O? Was that just group A and group B?
Strep.
That is correct.
Streptococcus.
Streptococcus. Yep. All right. Then we just got one final Jeopardy question. I'm just going to plop it up there and let you guys type it in the chat. We'll just wager everything. List the steps of a gram stain. Start typing. So anybody and everybody can type. Yep, crystal violet, iodine, decolorizer, and saffronin. Those are the liquid steps. Yeah, you would blot it at the end. But as far as your test goes, blot isn't going to be one of them. It's just the order of the steps that you do with the liquids. Okay. Alrighty. So, yep. Crystal violet stains at gram positive. Because violet's purple, purple's positive, right? Iodine, decolorizer, saffronin. All right, nice job, everybody. Courtney did good with this 200 points there in the end. Baba Hasilf. Nice job. Okay, I'm going to turn that off here and just some housekeeping things. Next week, I do believe we have, I just saw a question. Let's see here. I don't want to lie to you. So next week is oral reports. So have your oral report done next week. There is a, in the oral reports tab, there is or introduction to oral reports, there's a rubric in there and it tells you everything that you have to have on it. Okay. Make sure you have that printed and that you have those items included in your presentation because then you will get 100%. Okay. It will be a PowerPoint.
Sunday, correct? I
What's that?
apologize. I said that's
Go
for
ahead.
this Sunday, correct?
I think
Or
I have
is
it.
week 15?
I should have it due the night before class.
Okay.
I believe. Let me pull it up. I'll look at that in a second. Oh, I got all kinds of stuff open. The reason why I have the PowerPoint due the night before class is so that they're all there and it's really easy to pull up. So I have that. Where's that Dropbox?
Yeah, Blackboard says it's due the 28th.
Yeah, that's what I intended to put. Okay. And there is a Dropbox that will be in this week's area for that. And I'll open that today.
Okay, thank you.
So that you can plop your PowerPoint in there, because it's easier for me to open it when you're ready to do it, and then I can just throw your grade in there right away. Okay.
Wait, what
Now, as
week
far
was
as
it in?
what's that?
What week
It's going
was
to
it
be
in?
in. It's going to be. Oh, it should be in week 14. Do I have week 14 open already?
You have all of them open.
Yeah, I don't have week 14 open though.
Oh.
So let me.
Would week 14 be with this game that we just did too?
No. Hold on. I'm trying to talk and think at the same time. There will be a Dropbox for your PowerPoint in week 14 that I will open up here in a little bit. I just got to make sure the Dropbox is in there. And I know I have a Dropbox somewhere in here. I don't want to make another one and have there be two and have people be confused. Okay. So when week 14 opens, which is for the 29th, it's pretty much all oral reports. Okay. There will be a Dropbox in there. That's the only thing that's going to be due next week.
So
I
what
believe.
week is that game that we literally just did? What week it was that in?
The exam is due a week from, I gave you a lot of extra time on that. I have the due date on the exam as, is that the right one? That's toxicology.
So I don't know what week it is in to like go back and study from that.
Oh, you mean the game we're playing right now?
Yeah, the game that we just played.
Oh, it's in week 13. You just can't see it yet. Now you can.
Okay.
If you go back in there, you'll be able to see it. Yes, the game is in this week's material. I just had it hidden because I didn't want people playing it ahead of time.
Okay.
But it's open now. Okay. Yes, the game is in week 13. The Dropbox for your oral report will be in week 14.
Okay.
And that is due on Tuesday night so that they're all in there when we do our oral reports on Wednesday. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. But I have to make sure I move the Dropbox to that one because some things got shifted. So I want to make sure I don't just go in there right now and make another one when there's already one in there. So I'm not going to sit here while I'm talking to you guys and dig that around, but I will have it open before 10 o'clock in week 14.
Okay.
For your exam, your microbiology exam, okay, that will be due. I gave you guys extra time on that.
I thought it was due on the 28th too.
Yeah. So you guys have this week to take it.
Okay.
I'm just trying to find it, what week that's in. That will be in next week as well. Yeah, things kind of got jumbled with some of the changes that we made with this online review and such. Okay, so it'll be due the 28th. So the exam's due the 28th and your PowerPoint needs to be added on the 28th.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Next week we'll do our oral reports and we will review the drugs because you will have a drug exam then due on like the following week. The following week then we will be doing an online exam, or not online, but we'll do a on-campus exam review, potluck type thing, and then you're going to be done. It's crazy. Okay.
Yep.
I will open the rest of the course. It looks like week 14 is the only one that's not open right now. So I will make sure everything is crystal clear for weeks 14, 15, 16.
Okay.
Okay. And I will also take this lecture. It's recorded. It will be in the course, but what I could do for you guys, if you want, I can put it on YouTube. And then you guys have a YouTube link so you can watch it on your phone from anywhere if you want to. Would that be helpful?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that. Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Alrighty. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on Wednesday, and you will have your oral report submitted. Your exam will be taken, and we will do our reports and review for our toxicology. All right. Well, that's all I have. You guys are free to go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yes, happy